Welcome back to another episode of Chin Music. This is now episode 8. I'm your host, Andrew Menson, joined alongside by my co host, Andrew Lukuski. Since we last left you, the wild card series has ended with the teams advancing being the Yankees, the Detroit Tigers, the Los Angeles Dodgers, and the Chicago Cubs. So as we stand right now, the Dodgers are playing the Phillies, the Yankees are playing the Blue Jays, the Mariners are playing the Tigers, and the Cubs are playing the Brewers. So as of right now, if you're watching this on October 7th, you'll know that the Phillies are down 2-0 to the Los Angeles Dodgers as they head tomorrow to LA to hopefully stave off elimination. The Yankees are also down 2-0 to the Blue Jays. I can't hide my smile right now as they also face an elimination tonight. And I believe the other series are tied 1-1. Yeah, because I believe the Cubs. No, sorry, Milwaukee is up 2-0. So the Cubs are also on the brink of elimination. But before we get into all that, I would be remiss if I didn't pass on the mic to our beloved Phillies fan, Andrew Lukuski, to break down the series as it's gone so far.
It's hard to call myself a fan anymore. I think avid watcher is a better phrase than fan because just the last 72 hours has just been some of the most abysmal baseball I've seen since, you know, um, like Aaron Harang and and uh and squad were starting for the Philadelphia Phillies in like 2015, and Odubel Herrera was starting center fielder. Um, Didn't I think someone in I think Caden said this. It was more entertaining to watch this team when Mike Franco started at third base because every win was just like, oh look, they figured out how to win. This was the most poor showing from an offensive playoff team than I can even recall. The Yankees got their ass handed to them. They at least scored 7 runs in it was Sunday's game, I think, right? So I don't even know where to start. I don't even know where to start. But I think I'm going to start with my issues with the top of the Philadelphia Phillies lineup that is now, I believe, 2 for 21 this series. Maybe they have 3 hits, maybe. But the combination of Kyle Schwarber, Bryce Harper, and Trey Turner, a combination worth over $730 million, has done jack shit this playoff series. And it's embarrassing. And I'm typically a Harper defender because his playoff form with the Phillies has been excellent. He's hitting 315 with 12 home runs, 24 RBIs, and 29 runs scored in uh I don't know how many playoff games he's had with the Phillies. 36. So I'm typically not a big Harper hater because he has come up time and time again and perhaps hit one of the most famous playoff home runs in Philadelphia Phillies history. He looked lost. They all looked lost against Blake Snell and Shohei Ohtani. They were flailing at pitches left and right. They were some of the most uncompetitive at bats I've seen them take in a long time. Kyle Schwarber is playing for a contract that he will get a big one. I am not saying that this is going to cause him problems, but he ended the season on an 0 for 14 streak and has yet to get a hit in the playoffs. So he is now, I think, costing himself money because he did not perform well in last year's divisional series and the final 4 games of the 2023 NLCS. So this guy also has had problems performing in October. All of them. Every single hitter in this lineup has problems hitting under the bright lights of October. And it's sickening because they got 2 pitching performances that any playoff team would pay a fortune to be guaranteed that they would get. Jesus Luzardo threw a one hitter yesterday until the seventh inning, in which I think he walked a guy, and then I think it was a double to Freeman. At that point, the game was still 0-0, and they pulled him out. And thank you to Trey Turner for getting how to throw to home because that might have cost him some runs too. And the night before that, even Christopher Sanchez was mowing down Dodgers until this until the end of the 6th inning. and he even was only responsible for 2 runs. That is, you got two better than quality starts from from two of your frontline starting pitchers, and I just don't know what else you could ask for. Jesus Lordo retired at one point. I think it was 14 or 15 Dodgers in a row last night, and was making plays by himself in the field. He almost got hit in the face with a line drive and made the play. I don't know how that doesn't fire some of these guys up. The 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 $1 billion lineup that has been put together is it has just been pathetic. It's absolutely pathetic. And I don't and I have so many questions about what the hell Rob Thompson was doing, including bunting Bryson Stott yesterday with a runner on second base and nobody out. I don't know why in the world that he did that. And he's probably going to lose his job when they lose tomorrow. However, I think we've talked about this on the podcast plenty of times. Sometimes the manager is a scapegoat because you can't fire the players. This is on the players that have demanded third of $1 billion contracts who have just disappeared, absolutely disappeared. The fact that some of your heroes have been, like JT Realmuto hitting a triple. JT Realmuto is a good hitter. He should not be the one. He should not be the only one supplying run support at this on this like in these games. They have come up time and time again. These top three guys with runners on base. Harper had a chance to win the game yesterday. So did Turner, and they both came up short. And it's absolutely pathetic. And you know, I some might argue that I don't have a reason to pick on Nick Castellanos because he's the only one that gave the Phillies any fight yesterday. That dude needs to learn how to keep his freaking mouth shut in a press conference after a postseason game. He, for the Philadelphia Phillies in his postseason career, is hitting 222 in 36 games. He's worse than all of them in October. And so I don't want to hear it from him. If you don't like to get booed, you shouldn't have signed to play here, dude, because you were one of the most streaky, emotional players I've ever seen in my entire life. And to use your postseason pulpit with the media to complain about how the environment can sometimes turn against you, yeah, when a team is getting no hit through five again in the playoffs, you deserve to be booed because the amount of money that people spent to get to those games, if they didn't get face value tickets, were hundreds of dollars people paid to get in to watch that game. And they pay all the time to get all this merchandise and all that stuff. The amount of money that the average baseball fan spends to be able to watch you freak athletes play the game that they love, they have earned every single right to boo you when you suck. He was all of them. It was the games were not even competitive, and the games were close. At the end of each game, you could be like, "Oh, they almost won these games." They did not. By the third inning, you could tell the games were over, and it's absolutely pathetic. I would have rather them get blown out because you know what? It would have given me no hope. Yesterday, up until the bottom of the ninth inning, by the time the Dodgers had scored 4 runs, I was half paying attention to the game. I think I was playing online slots on my phone. But they put a little bit of fight in, and then everybody gets excited. And then for Trey Turner to ground out to second base on, I think, the second pitch of the at bat is just absolutely pathetic. He was the National League batting champion. He did not need to hit a home run. He needed to hit a single. He needed to put the ball on the ground past the infield, and it would have tied the game. It's this team when they lose tomorrow better be blown up. I can count on one hand how many guys I want back next year. The rest of them, I don't even want back. And I know that's wishful thinking because I know most of them are probably going to be back again. But plenty of them need to go when this series inevitably loses tomorrow. That's all I have to say right now.
So there's a lot that we can get into and that you've already gotten into. Um, so I think the thing that I want to touch on first is you mentioned that bunt play, in which I Stott wasn't who was the one who hit the double? Was it
Castellanos hit the double. He was on
Castellanos hit the
second
double?
base with nobody
Right.
out.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Coming back. So Castellanos hits that double, drives in 2 runs to have the winning run. Sorry, the tying run on second base. And Rob Thompson makes the interesting call to bunt with nobody out. And the Dodgers, to their credit, execute that play pretty much to perfection. But it is a curious decision, especially when, and I think somebody brought this up on social media, that Bryson Stott would have been up in almost an identical scenario to when he hit that grand slam that is basically the play that he's famous for now, where everyone was singing A-OK and then he launches it.
Yeah, in
Um,
game two against the Marlins.
yeah. So I just thought that was interesting. And there's been a lot of all of the so-called detractors of the bunt in recent years were definitely vindicated in that sequence. So much so that people are saying like, I don't know why you would ever bunt in 2025 just because it doesn't make sense anymore with the I've in the 90s bunting was a skill that people worked on, and it feels like now that's not so the case. Even like when pitchers were allowed to hit before the DH became universal, like they worked on bunting in spring training. When I went to the Mets spring training years ago, like I watched Matt Harvey do bunting drills, and I can guarantee you that there's not a single Mets pitcher that does bunting drills anymore because they never have to hit, obviously. So I just thought it was an interesting topic to touch on, and like what this kind of says about bunting in general in close games like this going forward. And obviously,
I'm
like,
not even anti-bunting. I am anti the situation that they used it in. First of all, Stott showed bunt on the first pitch, and the Dodgers pulled the wheel play. And I think Muncy was playing third base at the time. It was 15 or 20 feet from the plate by the time Stott pulled the bat back. They were obviously ready to execute it the first time, and so that's why you show bunt the first time and pull back to see if they're ready. And they were ready right off the bat. And so I don't understand why you would go back to bunting again, because obviously, after seeing it the first time, the corners are going to play even with the bags. So you had even less of an advantage because they were playing up because they saw you do it the first time. Also, Castellanos is insanely slow. So you're betting that he wouldn't even make it to third if you made a good enough bunt. And I obviously, in theory, the bunt is to get the guy to third base with less than 2 outs to tag up. Do you know how far you have to hit a fly ball for Nick Castellanos to tag up on a sacrifice fly? He is slow as molasses. So many things would have needed to go right for that play to work. And you know what? That is all to get a tie. That's not that you were not even that play would not have even won you the game had the bunt worked and Castellanos scored on a sacrifice fly. You know what you would have done? You would have given away 2 outs and tied the game with nobody on base.
yeah, it's obviously it's a nuanced discussion, and obviously there's gonna be people on either side that'll say one way or the other. But I will say for that specific situation, I really don't know how much sense it makes, especially when you're you had just started a rally and you're ripping off base hits left and right to suddenly go so conservative and show no faith in your guys. I It just seems like that's not Topper's not feeling that one out. Like I don't know. That to me that's a manager managing scared, and that's a manager
Yeah.
managing like his job's on the line, which it I don't think anyone would tell you that it's not. And he's probably managing his last game tomorrow, assuming a Dodger win. But yeah, I mean,
I'm fine. I was fine with the idea of showing bunt once. If both the corners were way back, Stott's fast. Maybe he bunts for a base hit. And if not, they have a better chance of at least advancing the guy. But once you see how well the Dodgers crashed and executed we can call it the fake play, whatever, because he didn't actually bunt. There's no reason to do it again. None. Because if you watch the play, you see how fast Max Muncy got to that ball. He was waiting. He was waiting for it. He was playing up. He knew it was coming. I don't understand. And I know it was lefty on lefty, I think, at the time when Stott was hitting. Stott doesn't hit great against lefties. I'd sure as hell take a chance of him getting a base hit because you know what happens? Maybe he grounds out to like second base on a ball where I don't even know who's playing second base this time. Maybe they have to dive and Castellanos can advance anyway. It was one time showing bunt, and if everything looks perfectly and every player's playing back and you get a good pitch, if he had bunted and on the first pitch and it worked, whatever. I think it's probably a dumb play, but at least you get your guy to third. Doing it out on the second pitch when everybody was ready for it was stupid. It was a waste of an at bat, and I don't get it.
another thing I wanted to touch on. I know you obviously uh, have some choice words for a lot of members of this team, and you said yourself you could probably count on one hand. Um, I think it's interesting to compare or to ask how your opinion of Kyle Schwarber has changed. Sorry, not just Kyle Schwarber. Um, how much your desire to see Kyle Schwarber get re-signed has changed in this playoff series. Because as you said, he has to get a hit this series. I know you said he ended um his regular season on a hitless stretch. I don't know what the exact number was. It's
It was
0
like
for
0 for
20.
14. It might have been 0 for 19. It was approaching 20.
Well, right, like including postseason, I know it's
Yeah.
at 0 for 20 something.
Hmm.
So that definitely comes into play a little bit. And once you start thinking about how the Phillies plan to rebuild next year, again, this is all hinging. A lot of what we're talking about here is hinging on the Philly season ending in the next week. But obviously, Kyle Schwarber doesn't give you any defensive versatility. He's not going to steal a lot of bags. He's there for the stick, and when the stick isn't there, then what do you got? You know, so I'm just curious on where you stand on him coming back to the Phillies. If you want him back, if you don't want him back, whatever.
It's gone down a ton. It's gone down a lot. Obviously, I think it would suck to see him leave. The problem is now, especially after the good season he had, he's going to cost way more than what he's getting to lock up the DH spot. He's a like paying a guy who can really only DH is a problem because there's no wiggle room there whatsoever. I don't know how many games he played in left field this year. I think it was probably two or three. But yeah, this postseason he's 0 for 7. Last postseason he was 2 for 16. And the postseason before that he was 9 for 47. So he has 11 hits in his last, hang on, I gotta do my math here. I don't feel like counting right now. He's 11 hits in his last 70 at-bats in the postseason. Good for a 157 average dating back three postseasons now. That's not just having a bad series. That's a serious trend of poor postseason baseball by Kyle Schwarber. And whether it's with the Phillies or whether it's with some other team, there's no way in hell that that does not cost him some money. Because you know what teams are going to do when they're talking to his agent? Point at those numbers right there and say he can't hit in October. He had an outstanding 2022 playoffs. So did everybody else. So that was that's a conversation for another day. But the last three postseasons, and honestly, most of Schwarber's good at bats came before the NLCS in 2023. He had a really good series against the Braves, and he had a good first game in the NLCS against the Diamondbacks. After that, it's been all downhill. So my desire to see him back has gone way down because this is pathetic. I don't care how many home runs you hit in the regular season because you know what? Kike Hernandez sucks for 162 games a year, but that dude is Babe freaking Ruth in October. And this is the team that needs guys who can play in the postseason because no matter what happens this offseason, I don't think they're tanking the team. It's a good chance that they're at a bare minimum just because of how the National League seems to look. The Phillies are getting in the playoffs next year, maybe by a wild card, whatever. I don't know how. They're getting back in again. So with or without Kyle Schwarber. So I want somebody that when, Citizens Bank Park lights up and, the 4 hours in hell that it's supposed to be can actually get a freaking hit. There was multiple times throughout these two games where Kyle Schwarber did not need to hit a home run. There was guys on base. If he had hit a single, he would have produced something that the Phillies needed. So long answer to say my desire to see him back has gone way down, especially because of how much he's going to cost for the position that he plays.
So my next question then is kind of segueing into that. Um, Assuming a Kyle Schwarber departure and assuming a lot of departures, um, what do you as a fan want to see from Dombo? Assuming Dombo's even back, because I don't even know if he's on the hot seat or what. From an outside perspective, and I've not been shy about this, the Phillies have not progressed; they've regressed. They've been to the World Series, they've been to the NLCS, they've gotten bounced from the NLDS, and they're looking to make it twice. So we're now what 4 years removed from no, not for, when was the Astros? It was 22 or 21.
2022, 22.
22. So we're going to be three postseasons removed from a World Series appearance. Obviously, the Diamondback series doesn't need to be mentioned. or expanded on. But you have a team now that's been built on the same core, mostly the same core. They're not getting it done. They're not getting any older. So what do you want to see the Phillies do in the offseason to make sure that this team has some fresh blood and can actually go out and compete next year?
So I'm pulling up a list of the actual options because I can say what I want to see all the time, or no, I can say what I want to see all day long. The problem is the the class this year of free agent
It's
is
pretty
pretty top
bad.
heavy. I think it's top heavy. So that you got a couple guys, Kyle Schwarber being one of the best bats available actually, and after that, I mean, I don't know. Eugenio Suarez had a really good year, but I think Bohm's probably not going to leave because Eugenio Suarez is going to cost a lot of money. Bohm's cheap, and Bohm's got one of the Bohm. If I had to pick one guy yesterday that I wanted up with Castellanos on second base, it was Alec Bohm. So I don't know. There's no place to play him. I I want them to. I'm tired of this having to use trade chips and everything every July for bullpen guys. The last couple of years, they've taken these, flyers on these random ass bullpen guys. No, when Romano's done, and I think there's a couple other guys that are done. I think Alvarado's done at the end of this year too, and I don't really know if I want him back because he took steroids, and when he came back from taking steroids, he sucked. So I want you to go sign out current good relievers, not getting cheap deals on somebody who thinks going to be good. Fortify that so that at the trade deadline you can figure out which bats are hot and work from there. I think the Harrison Bader move was I think it worked out a little bit better than we thought it was. I don't think Harrison Bader was going to play this well, but that when you take care of things like bullpen arms in the offseason, it allows you to do something like like a Harrison Bader move in the middle of the season because you're not playing in the same you're not you're not fishing in the same waters as other teams. When every team wants bullpen arms in the at the trade deadline, so I want them to take care of that in the off season. I want Castellanos out of here. I want him out of the city this on Thursday morning. I know they can't actually trade on Thursday morning. I want him gone. Because honestly, because you know what? Because you know who's going to come up yet next year? Justin Crawford, who's going to hit a hell of a lot better than Castellanos this year and costs like 1/20th as much as Nick Castellanos is costing this year. They're going to have to replace Ranger Suarez because I don't really want Ranger Suarez back. And the side note on him, he objectively has to be hurt. There is no way that he is not going to pitch in any of these 3 games. He's hurt. I don't know why they're not saying anything about it. He's hurt. There's no way Aaron Nola should be starting tomorrow. None. But anyway, I think he's probably leaving, so they need to replace him. And you know, I don't know. I don't know what free agents. Zach Gallen, Framber Valdez, and Dylan Cease are all free agents. Like, so they're going to cost too much, I think, for the Phillies, unless they do some serious salary shedding. Um, so I don't know. I'd like to. They're going to have to find somebody to replace Zach Wheeler for a little while. I'm not as optimistic on his timeline of coming back in early 2026 as other people seem to be. Um, and I want Stott gone. I think that's not something I see people talk about a lot. He's been here long enough, and he was a first round pick, and I expected more out of the bat, and it's just not there. Um, you know, I I don't think Edmundo Sosa is a great baseball player by any means, but I think if you find somebody else, if you find, we can talk hypotheticals, but Stott's making a lot more than Edmundo Sosa is. And if you shed that, you shed some other people, that allows you to go after some big name players and take a little bit of a hit at a place like second base. I don't think Stott and Edmundo Sosa are all that much of different players. I think they're having comparable years, and I don't know. I think it's time for a change there. I'm tired of the rotation of crap in the outfield. Get 3 good outfielders to start every day. I hope Bader comes back. I think they should re-sign Bader, and Marsh is going to stay too, obviously. And go get a real everyday starting outfielder and have those 3 guys be your outfielders every day. And occasionally, when you have to um, sit Marsh against a hard lefty, fine, whatever. But the constant rotation of guys and needing to platoon half the roster is a problem. Go seven, excluding the pitcher. So there's eight positions. Six of those should be everyday people. And right now for the Phillies, it's not. Stott, Marsh, and Kepler and Castellanos, no idea if they're starting every day. That's half of your position players that you don't know who's going to be in those spots every day, and that's a problem. So I would like some set starters for most of the spots on the field and stop worrying about platooning and go and shed some salary in places that you think you can. I think Castellanos is a good one. And you know, I think JT's just got to come back because there's just no other catching options. Um, and I think even he is and the baseball player that he is, he's smart enough to know that he's going to have to take a pay cut because he's like 35 and has not had the offensive season that $20 million is worth. So that's going to save some money there. A lot of answers all over the place. I want I want better everyday players because you need teams that roll out almost the same lineup every day play well. And I don't know if they're going to find this guy, and this is my wishful thinking here. A player like Teoscar Hernandez on the Phillies would be fantastic. Somebody who flies a little bit under the radar, I think, to the average baseball fan, but can do absurd damage when they need to. Teoscar Hernandez had a fantastic year, and I would bet if you ask the average fan, most of them don't know a ton about him because you know, I don't know. I don't think he's a flashy kind of player, but he does the job. He's a good outfielder, and the dude can hit. So I don't know. People like that. I don't want them to go out and sign these massive 10-year contracts that lock them up like they did with Harper and Turner. Um, you know, they I'll have a better answer for that question when I see how tomorrow goes. But yeah, I the most a good amount of this core better not come back.
That they, I can't blame you. I mean, it's after seeing the last two games, it just and I mean, I went on this pod last episode and I said that I thought the Phillies were going to win the World Series, and here we are. So it's
I'll tell you
remarkable.
right now, though, if they sweep in LA and come back to Philadelphia, they are winning a World Series. I don't think that's going to happen. No, there is no part of me that thinks that is going to happen. If it does happen, and I'm at Game 5, there's no way the team doesn't go on a run. And you know what? It would be one of the most stupid Phillies things to do to get embarrassed at home and then go sweep in Los Angeles. Again, not going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen, but it would be incredibly, if nothing else, if it goes to 5 and they lose, it screws up the Dodgers for the NLCS because they get to use up all their pitching. So you know what? If the Phillies are going to go down, I'm going to take the Dodgers down with us.
Fair enough. I guess before we do a little overview on the rest of the games, I got to throw in my little Met segment. So nothing much has happened besides Juan Soto posting an Instagram story from Cancun, because why not? Um, so the
Bold move,
Mets,
man.
I don't like. I would be like, I would be mad about it, but I'm like, I don't even care. Like the guy was statistically the best hitter on the Mets last year. Like whatever. So I can't be that frustrated at him making light of it. Anyway, they fired basically all of their coaches. Jeremy Barnes, assistant hitting coach, is gone. Eric Chavez, hitting coach, is gone. Jeremy Hefner got fired, the pitching coach, which is the one that I'm kind of not happy about. But I understand why. They didn't fire. Sorry, they did fire their third base coach, Mike Sarbaugh, which was along with that. That dude was blind as a bat. I swear he couldn't read anything on sending guys or stopping them. It felt like he always made the wrong call. And a bunch of other guys retired or they allowed them to seek interviews with other teams. So there's going to be a major overhaul. And not to go too much into this, but all I really have to say on this is that I think this is very indicative of Mendoza's standing as a manager. Because what Stearns is doing is essentially telling him, okay, when I hired you, most of these guys were in place. Hefner survived like three managers, which speaks to how highly regarded he is. A bunch of these guys were in place prior to Mendoza's hiring, so he's basically saying, "All right, you want your guys? Fine, hire your guys. The coaching better not be an issue next year because clearly the Mets fans had their gripes with Eric Chavez. I sure as hell did. I think I talked about it on the podcast. I think the guy's a prick. Um, but there's going to be a lot of shakeup about Hefner. He People give him shit because the Mets pitching wasn't good in the home stretch, but then you think about how many pitchers he actually worked with and made way better. This guy turned. You have to think about who David Peterson was as a pitcher before Jeremy Hefner worked his magic. David Peterson was on pace to be a flame out first rounder who was could never stay consistent. He turns Tyler McGill into a Cy Young contender in April and May annually. Um, the work he did with Sean Manaea last year, the work he did with Severino last year, he turned Griffin Canning, who is one of the worst starting pitchers in baseball, into an effective back of the rotation starter. So for all this chatter about Jeremy Hefner's crap, Jeremy Hefner couldn't get it. They walked too many guys, which is a fair criticism. It's just I wish they could have found a way to keep him. And he's going to get hired somewhere else, and he's going to be great somewhere else. But at the end of the day, if they go out and they sign someone just as good, then whatever. But that's my little spiel on that. There's not a whole lot for me to talk about the Mets right now. I'm still mentally recovering from that atrocious end of the season, which I already spoke at length to. But I can segue this into my other New York team. Sorry, not my other New York team, the other New
Oh,
York team.
whoa.
Yeah, sorry guys, that's gonna get clipped. The New York Yankees, who are currently losing 2-1 in the bottom of the first at Yankee Stadium. So, sorry, I need to go check real quick how this happened. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. hits a two-run home run in the top of the first. Let me just say something real quick, and I saw this on Twitter too. So, and I wholeheartedly agree. Vlad Jr. It's very rare you see a player in baseball in 2025 hate another team like Vlad Jr. hates the Yankees.
Yeah.
And you saw it in the at bat where he hit the grand slam the other day, where he's literally every ball he's taking, he's like doing a little shimmy, like he's fucking Juan Soto, like, and then he hits the crap out of a baseball, 450, flips the bat, and it's like I wish this guy was a Met so bad, and I wish he didn't re-sign with the Blue Jays, but he was born to be a Met, and it sucks. But man, is he fun to watch, and it's just really, I will never not celebrate the Yankees' downfall.
Yeah, him being a Blue Jay gives him more opportunities to do this kind of stuff to the Yankees
Hey,
at
yeah,
least.
he plays them more times a year. That's true. So, he, oh my god, you know what? I gotta check this guy's fucking playoff stats this year. It's been this guy. Oh my god, get ready for this. Vlad Jr. in 10 at bats. So this in his postseason, which has just been versus the
The
Yankees so
divisional series,
far.
yeah.
Yeah, he is 7 for 10 with 4 runs, 8 RBIs, and 3 home runs. That's good for an on base percentage of that doesn't fucking make sense.
On base
Uh,
percentage should be at least 700.
yeah, it's not saying it's 700 on this thing, which is weird. But anyway, his OPS is 2.2, which is almost double Aaron Judge's, and Aaron Judge's is one of the best OPSs you'll ever see. So that just goes to show that this guy, he wants that ALDS MVP desperately. And he's only 26. He's got a lot of more years to do this. And I love it. So
Yep.
I,
New
it's,
mortal
that's
enemy of the Yankees is fine with me.
so good, dude. Oh my God. Yeah. And then the other game going on today, the Seattle Mariners are up 4-0 on the Detroit Tigers. Um, who was pitching today? Because he got fucking shelled. Gilbert's been great throwing shutout ball. Jack Flaherty had a rough game, only went
Oh,
3 1/3 today. And I believe this is at Comerica, so I wouldn't be too angry to see the Tigers falter after they knocked out my adopted AL team, the Guardians. But it should be shaping up for hopefully a Toronto sweep. As I say, I'm sure someone's going to hit a home run, and um, yeah, already.
the Yankees will come back and push it to a game five.
Yeah, that would be great. For our listeners, we're hoping to have fan favorite Chris Talt back on the pod when the Yankees hopefully uh, get axed in the postseason, so we can get his. It's everyone's taking their turn to rip on their team. I did it last episode. You did it this episode. Next episode, we're gonna
Yeah,
get
Chris will
Chris.
be next time.
We'll find a Tigers fan somewhere. Give him.
I'll have more once this is officially over. I mean, in my head it's over, but it'll feel different once I see that the Phillies, you see, like they don't have any more games. So I'll get I'll have two episodes.
Yeah. I will say though, looking back on my little postseason predictions, I still feel pretty good about the Mariners getting to the World Series. I will say the Blue Jays have definitely impressed me with
Hmm.
how dominant they have been. This Trey kid, I believe his last name is pronounced Yasavage or Yasava. I don't know. Well,
You Savage, yeah.
I'm gonna call him Yasavage because that dude is a savage. Um, that guy is gross, and he made one of the better lineups in the MLB look silly. And I don't even think he's cracked 20 career innings yet in the big league. So that's just incredibly impressive. I could also say that about Cam Schlittler, but I'd rather not. We'll focus on the other guy instead.
Hmm.
Um, Hell of a performance, and he's going to be really good. I'm excited to see him pitch more, but yeah. And then from if it's not, I mean, I think I would have said this last episode too. If it wasn't going to be the Phillies, then I think the Dodgers become the de facto favorites in the National League. I'm sorry, I don't see it from the Cubs or the Brewers. You will never convince me the Brewers are a good postseason team until they actually make a deep run. So, uh,
Yeah.
and the Cubs just, and I think I talked about this with some yesterday. Like, I just don't think their team's good. Their team's solid. But when you at the end of the day, you need stars. You need absolute stars. And right now, the Cubs' biggest star is Seiya Suzuki, which is the definition of a very good player who is not a superstar. Kyle Tucker has not been good this postseason so far. Pete Crow Armstrong is not the like I already talked about Pete Crow Armstrong. He's not Willie Mays. We already said this. Their starting pitching looks terrible. Imanaga has fallen off a cliff as of recently. This guy he couldn't even get out of the third inning um yesterday, which is just like that's not what you want to see from who everyone expected to be your ace going into the season. And then after that, you have Matt Boyd again, like guy having a good year. I don't think anyone thinks Matt Boyd is a superstar. I don't think anyone thinks that Jameson Tyone is a superstar or um, their fourth guy. I couldn't even tell you who their fourth guy is. I'm blanking, and that tells you right there that their rotation is very forgettable. Um,
Oh yeah.
because Jesus, dude, who? Sorry, I need to get Colin Rea. Colin Rea is
Oh
going to
yeah.
start a postseason game for like, come on, dude. So
Hmm.
that's my little spiel on that. Kind of disappointing that I feel like after this the postseason games are this is basically as good as it gets. Like I'm pretty dialed into Blue Jays Yankees. I'm pretty dialed into Phillies Dodgers. But after this, it's like all right, like Brewers Dodgers NLCS. Like I know that's gonna end. So
Yeah.
um, but yeah, we don't have a whole lot today for our episode. We'll have more, like you said, once we wrap up these division series. But I felt the need that the fans deserve to hear from the great Andrew Lukuski about the Phillies' performance so far, because nothing's better when you're depressed about your own team than seeing your rival team equally as depressed as you are. So
I'm not
this was
depressed. I'm angry. You can tell how bad it is that I can't even rattle off coherent thoughts about what I want the team to do because of just how absolutely fucking pathetic it's been. If it was a slow demise or I was sad, I would be able to present exactly what I want to happen and what's going wrong. I'm just rattling off bad things that are happening and how I want it to be fixed, which is how you know that it's bad.
yeah, it's definitely it's not good, that's for sure. But I don't know. Is there is there anything else you wanted to touch on? Get your
No,
last final thoughts out before we take it away.
my final thought, yeah, that'll be on Thursday or Friday, whenever, whenever this series is over. I'll have a script ready of all the people that I want to lose their jobs or get traded somewhere.
Beautiful. Well, I'll be looking forward to it. I know some of our listeners will be looking forward to it.
All right.
But I think that's going to do it for this episode 8 of Chin Music, a baseball podcast. Once again, I'm Andrew Benson, joined by Andrew Lukuski, and we will see you soon for episode 9.